What's going on, ProGuides family? My name is Nathan Ng, back with another awesome video for you guys. It's so good to be back. I miss you guys, so let's go ahead and just jump right into it. We're going to be talking about the steps that you guys need to take in order to climb from Bronze to Radiant. But before we go ahead and get into the video, you know what time it is. It is time for our question of the day. Today's question is, what do you struggle with the most in-game? Is it your aim that suffers when you just can't seem to land your shots, or maybe something more along the lines of your positioning that can get into the root of some issues? Personally for me, I think it's just that I get too out of it. This game takes so much concentration and I just don't want to be focusing on my crosshair the entire game, and I'm quite literally aimless. Anyway, with that all being said, as you guys will soon see, taking the time to reflect and look at what areas that you are weak is one of the key ways to improve, so take some time to let us know in the comments down below what you think you struggle the most with. Alright, right before we go ahead and get into things, we want to take a second to explain how this video is going to work. We are going to be starting with the most fundamental things that you need to learn first and master all the way up to the things that you need to master. Just because something might be a little bit harder on the scale of things to learn or a little bit above where you might be right now, it is always good to try and practice as much as you can, no matter if the technique is above you. At the same time though, if you are struggling to learn what every agent does, it's probably a good idea to learn right before trying to tackle a harder topic like crosshair placement. Finally, starting off with the first thing that we're going to be talking about today, and it's going to be making sure that you understand the game. When we say this, we're talking about all of the basic functions that you need to learn in order to play the game of Valorant competitively. Most of the time when someone is stuck in Bronze, they are missing one of the fundamental skills. These fundamentals are aiming, shooting, movement, map knowledge. By that we just mean knowing all the angles and corners that are dangerous, not necessarily the more complex things, basic economic skills, and lastly, communication. If you are stuck in Bronze 1, I would like to see which one of these you performed the worst at and work to improve it. We don't have time in this video to go over each of the fundamentals and how to improve it in the video, but go ahead and keep your eyes open because we'll be coming out with a video very soon about all the fundamentals, so be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell to be notified when that video goes live. For today though, the thing that you need to know is that getting good at the fundamentals will easily carry you out of Bronze or even out of the lower ranks. These fundamentals are the foundation for doing everything else in Valorant, and there are even players that dedicate themselves to just mastering these so they can just be the scariest players to play against. However, fundamentals aren't the only thing that you can do to improve in Valorant, and while they are very important to learn, arguably the other and most important thing to learn in Valorant is mentality. Staying positive and being tilt-proof can quite easily make the game much more enjoyable to play and grind, and will also help you lose less. When your mental is in a good state, your gameplay will follow. Try and be that guy that stays positive throughout it all, and if there is a toxic player on your team or someone that isn't performing as well as you'd like, that is okay. Instead of smack talking them for mistakes, instead praise them for the good plays that they make or the utility that they throw correctly. For the final point that we want to cover in this section, it is important to become familiar with the agents and the maps in Valorant. The earlier you sit down for an hour or two and learn about all of the agents and the maps, the better off you'll be in the long run. Or another way you can learn about this is just by simply playing the game. By understanding all of the agents' abilities, you can play around them a little bit better and then understand what options that you have as the round progresses. This is a little bit more complex than what you need to worry about at this stage, but once you go ahead and start getting to that level of play, already having this under your belt will definitely make you adjust more quickly to the enemy's actions. It will also help you learn a new agent much quicker, as you will have a general understanding of how they work and their role in a team environment. The second step on the ladder to Radiant are your mechanics. Mechanical ability is very important in Valorant, as at the end of the day, most agents in Valorant have to rely on their aim to secure kills, unless you are playing Raze of course. Everybody loves explosions, right? Especially when they are heat-seeking or a cluster bomb. But seriously though, you have to have decent aim to get kills, but aiming isn't all that mechanics entail. Anything that requires a quick button press or a lot of muscle memory is considered a mechanic. Things such as bunny hopping, quick switching, animation cancelling, reload cancelling, and even the general just movements are just things that all fall under the mechanics umbrella. Learning things like spray control and the difference between spray firing, burst firing, and tap firing are way more important to learn at first than something such as bunny hopping, as those are skills that you will use in almost every single fight, whereas something like bunny hopping you won't really need to use until you start getting into high levels of play. So start off by learning spray control and the different ways of firing. We actually have videos of these topics, so make sure to check the description for links if you want to learn more. The next thing I would recommend learning is something fun mechanically that you like to do. Some people really like getting into B-hopping, or if you're an opper, then maybe learn something that pertains to that, such as quick switching or practice some nice flicks. Learning a fun mechanical skill will not only help keep the game fun and not feel like homework, but it'll also be a notable way to mark your progress in the game. Being able to say, well, I couldn't do this before, but now I can, is a great feeling and is another awesome way to keep yourself involved in this game. After that, I would go back to try mastering your aim. Focus on the areas where you feel you are the best first. Flesh those out and try to get a good feeling of what type of agent is good for your aiming style or playstyle. This is the time I would really recommend sticking to one agent and leaving the rest alone except for maybe one or two secondary agents at most. You don't want to play too many agents as once, as it's way more efficient just focusing on one and mastering that one agent for higher level of play. Once you feel that your aim has plateaued, go back and forth and start working on things that you aren't really good at. This way, you can start practicing the things that you're bad at while still having the aim habits that can help you take you through your rank games. By practicing this way, you give yourself a little bit more freedom to work well in ranks and make sure that you just don't bottom frag because you are focusing on improving. While you are mastering your aim, this is where you should start looking at more of those high-level mechanic things. Stuff that you see professional players pulling off, and any cool things that your agent might be able to do, such as a jet updraft animation cancel or perfectly timed omen teleport into a tiny corner. There are a bunch of things that you can learn, but once again, this should only be focused on after you have already became pretty efficient in all the other fundamentals and have committed to the Valorant grind. While you are focusing on mastering your aim, there is one more thing that comes into play quite a little bit in Valorant, and that is game sense. Game sense is the feeling that you get when someone just feels out of place or you just know that something is gonna happen. It is the sixth sense that is honed through thousands of hours of play and years of muscle memory. It is something that there are no cheats for, and instead something that you must simply get by putting the time in. However, there are ways to focus on your game sense properly and improve faster. Game sense is a highly theoretical and highly personal skill at the end of the day, which is why it is the last thing to develop in most FPS players, simply due to the amount of time that it takes. You'll start developing it as soon as you're working and mastering your aim, so maybe around the plat level of ranks. This is where being able to just know things without needing other information becomes more and more prevalent. Like understanding that the enemy jet has a certain playstyle and will most likely push that angle if no presence is shown. That is a very common playstyle habit and one thing that I just learned from paying attention to playstyles and how people play. The best thing you can do for yourself is to be constantly asking yourself questions. For instance, when you die, just ask yourself why you died and the answer is never your team. My answer personally is because, well, they just got lucky and they got a lucky headshot, but that's also not the case. There is always something that you could have done better in a game, and while it is important to acknowledge your achievements, always be looking for things that you could have done better. No one is perfect, and that isn't an attack, it's a challenge. Strive to be perfect, and through the odds you will prevail. Put in the work, and then I guarantee you that the success will come. Focus on how you can do better always without worrying about your team or your scoreline. Another great way to help you improve your game sense is to keep a mental flowchart of people's options. This will be pretty difficult at first when you're trying to deal with so much information at once, but as you start doing it, it'll be easier and easier until you'll eventually not even have to think about it and it will be your sixth sense. Things like rotation times, flank timings, playstyles, and habits are all things that become important to learn about and then abuse as you see them. As you climb the ranked ladder, people will get better and better, and you'll have to keep evolving your tricks to make sure that you're able to adapt to their playstyle. Professional players have a game sense so well honed that they can actually even know the almost exact pixel where an area is safe to be in and where it is unsafe to be in. They calculate that based on how easy it is to take a territory, where the enemy could have positioned themselves, where their teammates are, and where the enemies could actually be. When you notice someone that's making a play and it's working over and over again, just ask yourself why and try to figure out what it is about that play that makes it so good. Does it work because that player is playing a hyper-aggressive agent? Maybe it's just because they have a teammate that's backing them up and got their back, or maybe it's just purely because you just got out-aimed. There are so many reasons for why something could have happened, but if you break them down every little time and ask why it happened, soon your brain will start to realize the patterns in play and you'll start being able to come up with the solutions to that play that you haven't seen before. As we said, it takes a little time and dedication to hone your game sense, but with the coaching helping you to create a personal plan for you, it may not be as difficult as you think. We here at ProGuides.com offer coaching for some of the best players in Valorant. No matter what skill you might be and you might need help in, we've got you covered. So be sure to click the link in the description to learn more. Well, everyone, unfortunately, that is all that we have for you today. If you liked the video though, then maybe consider leaving a like, and if you're feeling extra zesty, you can go ahead and subscribe. We also put out videos such as this every single day, so you definitely don't want to miss one. Remember to stay safe out there, my friends, and I'll see you all very soon. Peace.